You know, when you picture the government buying something, you probably think slow. Paperwork, bureaucracy, right? But what if it's something like AI? Something developing incredibly fast that national security might, depend on. How does that work? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really interesting attempt to solve that exact problem. It's about speed versus oversight. We're digging into HR 1692. It's called the Producing Advanced Technologies for Homeland Security Act, or just the PATH Act for short. And it's all about how the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, can get its hands on new tech quickly, but with some important checks in place.
Exactly. Our job today is basically to translate this thing. Take the legal language and make it clear what's actually changing for DHS. We're talking about how they buy things, especially high-tech stuff, and how Congress plans to keep tabs on it. It touches on efficiency, but also transparency.
Right. And just for context, this bill isn't brand new. It popped up early in the 19th Congress. Rep. Guest introduced it. And interestingly, it passed the House really fast back in March 2025 by a voice vote.
Yeah, that voice vote is significant. It suggests pretty broad agreement that something like this is needed.
It's now sitting with the Senate committee that handles Homeland Security. So its fate isn't sealed, but it clearly had momentum.
Okay, let's jump into the core of it. The main reason this PATH Act exists is to extend something called Other Transactions Authority, or OTs, for DHS. Now, if you follow defense tech, you might know OTs. For everyone else, what exactly are these? Why are they the fast track?
Okay, so OTs are basically a special tool. They're meant for research and prototype projects. They get used when the standard ways the government buys things, formal contracts, grants, that sort of thing, just aren't practical or appropriate.
Not feasible or appropriate, meaning too slow, too rigid.
Pretty much. The key thing, and this is really important, is that OTs are exempt from a lot of the usual federal procurement laws and regulations. The Big Book of Rules, the FAR, doesn't fully apply.
Oh, okay, so they can sidestep some of the red tape. Exactly. It lets DHS act a bit more like a private company trying to grab new technology quickly. Big speed, flexibility, less bureaucracy.
Which sounds great if you need cutting-edge tech yesterday.
Right. Especially for prototypes where you need quick turnaround. You avoid getting bogged down.
And the PATH Act wants to keep this tool available for DHS.
Yes, that's the first big piece. It extends this special OT authority, specifically for DHS, through fiscal year 2028.
So securing that speed lane for several more years, that's a pretty clear signal from Congress.
It definitely is. They see this as a necessary tool for DHS to modernize.
But speed, especially government speed, often raises questions about oversight, doesn't it? Which brings us to the next part, especially concerning AI.
Right. So the bill gives DHS speed with OTs, but then it puts a specific focus on artificial intelligence. This is where new mandatory checks come in.
Okay, so how does Congress keep tabs if DHS uses this fast-track OT for an AI project?
There's a really interesting notification rule. If DHS uses this OT authority, or even just extends an existing one, for any R&D projects involving AI, they have to tell Congress.
How quickly?
Within 72 hours.
72 hours. That's incredibly fast for government reporting. Like almost real time.
It is. 3 days. And it's not just a heads up. They also have to offer to brief the relevant congressional committees on why they made that decision. Why use the OT for that specific AI project?
Wow. So speed, granted, but if it involves AI, Congress gets an immediate flag and the offer of a detailed explanation?
Precisely. It acknowledges that AI isn't just any technology. It's sensitive, it evolves quickly, and its applications can have huge implications.
Yeah, you can imagine things like facial recognition or predictive analytics. Congress would want to know immediately what's being prototyped.
That's the idea. It ensures they understand the rationale, the potential use cases, before something potentially controversial gets too far down the road using this accelerated process. It forces DHS to justify it internally and externally very quickly.
So it's a trade-off. You get the OT speed, but you accept this really tight leash when AI is in the mix.
Very tight leash. It's a tailored oversight mechanism for a specific kind of high-stakes technology.
That covers the speed and the AI-specific checks. But the PATH Act does more, right? It also tackles broader transparency.
Yes. The second major component is about making sure the public has visibility into DHS spending, generally, not just these OTs.
So this is about accountability across the board.
That's right. It builds on existing rules that require DHS to report contract awards publicly on their website.
But it changes which contracts get reported.
Exactly. And this is a big change. It significantly lowers the dollar threshold for mandatory public reporting.
Okay, what was it before, and what does the DHS Act change it to?
Previously, DHS generally only had to publicly report contract awards valued at $4 million or more.
4 million, okay.
The DHS Act drops that threshold way down, all the way to $1 million.
1 million, so a fourfold increase in the range of contracts potentially covered.
Well, maybe not fourfold in number, but it drastically increases the number of contracts that now need to be publicly listed. Think about it. A lot of R&D, initial prototypes, smaller software buys, those kinds of things, often fall in that $1 million to $4 million range.
Right, things that weren't quite blockbuster deals but still represent significant taxpayer investment.
Exactly. These are often foundational contracts, maybe the start of a relationship with a new tech vendor, or the first step in exploring a new capability. Before those could kind of fly under the public radar.
So now journalists, watchdog groups, even just, curious citizens like you listening can get a much clearer picture of where DHS is spending smaller but still substantial amounts of money.
That's the goal. More visibility into those initial stages, those potentially crucial smaller bets DHS is making on technology. It's a definite boost for transparency, especially when budgets are always a concern.
It really makes you think about how taxpayer money is being used, especially for tech that might affect daily life or civil liberties down the line.
Absolutely. It holds DHS more accountable for that spending.
Okay, so let's sort of pull this all together. The DHS Act seems to be doing two main things simultaneously. First, it's saying, DHS, you need to be fast, especially with prototypes and new tech. Keep using these OTs, we'll extend them to 2028.
Right. Granting the flexibility.
But then it immediately attaches conditions, big ones.
Yeah, the conditions are key. Condition 1, if it's AI R&D using that speed lane, Congress needs to know within 72 hours, and you need to be ready to explain why.
Super fast, targeted oversight for AI.
And condition 2, across the board, way more contracts need to be public knowledge now. Anything over $1 million. Broader transparency.
So it's speed with strings attached, modernization, but with guardrails.
I think that's a good way to put it. It ensures DHS can innovate rapidly, particularly with things like AI, but Congress and the public get a much closer look, much faster, at what's happening and what it costs.
It seems like a recognition that the old ways of overseeing government spending maybe don't quite work for the pace of 21st century tech.
Exactly. You need oversight that can almost keep pace with the technology itself, especially for something as potentially transformative and sensitive as AI.
And just looping back to the start that voice vote in the House, it passing so easily.
Yeah, it suggests there's a real consensus, at least on the House side, that this specific balance, enabling speed while mandating these particular forms of oversight, is the right approach right now.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. If there's this much agreement that rapid tech adoption by government must come with these kinds of immediate specific checks for things like AI and greater financial transparency overall, what does that signal for the future? Is this DHS Act maybe a blueprint? Will the price of government using any cutting-edge tech moving forward always be this kind of tailored, almost real-time oversight?
And how might that reshape the whole relationship between government agencies trying to innovate and the tech companies they partner with?
Something to chew on. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.